During the decade of the 70s, the Phillies front office began to assemble a talented cast of players to complement the powerful left arm of Steve Carlton. By the end of the decade, they had clearly become the dominant team of the National League East.
Those teams of the 70s were teams that the 9 guys who went out there were ready to do or die. And Lefty was the leader of that. I mean, when we entered a game, you knew we're going to do whatever it possibly took, and you had that feeling from the guy on your left, the guy on your right, and the guy on the mound.
Lefty was Lefty, and his focus was his focus, and on game day you absolutely left him alone and let him do his thing, because it was win day.
I'll tell you, when he was going to pitch, nobody even spoke to him for an hour before. He had the greatest concentration going into a ball game I ever saw in any pitcher.
I very rarely remember Lefty changing his routine. You know, going out there, first off working extremely hard in between starts, and then coming in the day he pitched talking about, hey, this is win day.
I remember on days when you pitched, when I came in, and I come to the ballpark pretty early, 3:30, you were already there, and it was win day. And from the first guy that got in there, it was okay, today is win day, and that was your theme the whole time. And then before the game started, you put cotton in your ears, and we were all keyed up and going on the field. You put in cotton and go out there and pitch and not say anything the rest of the night.
Steve was a little different. He did some things on the bench when he pitched. I remember him sitting on the bench, and he'd have his cotton in his ears and to be talking to himself. And this was an experience I'd never seen before, when he'd be talking and saying things like, let your ability come through, let your ability shine. You know, we have the ability, let's go, let's go. And he'd be in somewhat of a trance.
Every time he went out there, he was going to give you a great effort. There was going to be a low-scoring game. He was going to get you a hit. He'd pick you off a runner.
As an infielder, I think the easiest thing to do was play behind him, because there was no indecisiveness on his part. He knew what his game plan was before the umpire said play ball. He visually went over every hitter in the locker room. He knew what he wanted to do. He knew how he wanted to get him out. He knew how he wanted us to play. I mean, there were many times in a pitcher's meeting when he'd said, I want you to play here on this hitter. If the ball goes the other place, it's my fault. And 9 times out of 10, we'd be in the right place. And that's not coincidental, because he knew what he wanted to do out there. Anytime you see a pitcher in total command like that, you're alert, you're on your toes, you're ready for action.
If you diagram the way a young pitcher should throw a baseball, and from the very beginning of the toe on the rubber, the arm motion, the arm location, the grip on the ball. I caught a lot of good pitchers, but Steve, from a 60 feet, 6 inches away of perfection, he was as close as anybody I caught.